Alrighty, well, this is, as the title would indicate, the list where I name the best movies I have seen all year. But before that, let me begin by naming some of the movies that I heard were very good, or even some of the movies that I did see, but I just did not put on here for whatever reason. Or really, yeah, only one of these movies I actually saw and I actually got the chance to see, but I did not put it on here, and I will elaborate why. So yeah, I did not see 12 Years a Slave. I did not see Her, and the reasoning for that is because, well, I honestly just couldn't get out when these movies were, or in Her's case are still being in theaters. It just wasn't in the cards for me to go out, especially not now, since I'm not really feeling all that great. American Hustle. This actually looked good. It's from David O. Russell, who did The Fighter. But it's just one of those things where I just did not. I don't know. To me, it screamed something that I will see when it comes to video. When this movie was out, I was going to. I was otherwise occupied with either buying Christmas presents or getting ready for Christmas or making another list. But yeah, American Hustle, I honestly think it just came out during too cluttered a time of year for me. Place Beyond the Pines is actually something that I did see, but the thing with this movie is that the first 2/3 are great. The first 2/3 this is kind of an episodic movie. The first third is from the point of view of Ryan Gosling. The second third is from the point of the cop who shoots Ryan Gosling, played by Bradley Cooper. And then the third segment is revolving around their two sons, who eventually end up finding out about the little quarrel that their fathers had. So the portions with Ryan Gosling and Bradley Cooper are great. I mean, they hit the dramatic points. The movie has a style. The movie has kind of a sweet, somber style to it. It has atmosphere. The acting is good. But where it really falls apart, in my opinion, is the last third, where the two sons are not very good actors. At least I don't think so. And when they come on the heels of Ryan Gosling and Bradley Cooper's performances, it just feels like a huge step down from an otherwise great movie. How it just kind of descends into just being okay near the end. So that's really the main reason I didn't put it on here. The Conjuring, I really wanted to see, especially after hearing that it was by some that it was the best horror movie since The Exorcist. But I don't even know what I was doing. Now I know. When this came out, I had gone to see The Wolverine, and I wasn't really up to going to another movie that basically immediately afterwards. So yeah, The Butler, this could be very thick-headed of me, but and it could be sounding very ignorant, but the main reason I did not go see this movie is because Oprah is one of the stars. I do not like Oprah. I don't think she's a good actress at all. I'm aware that she gave a good performance, and I might end up seeing this seeing this later, but as it stands, I have yet to see it. And honestly, it didn't really scream something I have to see, just based on the trailers alone. But I heard it's very good. So same with Don John. I mean, the main reason I didn't go see this is because the trailer honestly scared me away. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I don't mind as an actor. He can be a good actor. He can be a very likable. He can make for a very likable character. But the thing with this movie, when I saw the trailer for it, it was him and Scarlett Johansson doing the most annoying accents I've heard in a while. That could be just the scenes they showed in the trailer. Maybe it's the trailer that I got. But I just thought to myself, there is no way I'm going to be able to sit through an entire movie of Joseph Gordon-Levitt and bland Scarlett Johansson doing these accents. They are, oh my god. But from what I've heard, the directorial debut of Joseph Gordon-Levitt was very well received, so I might end up seeing this down the road. And now we come to 4 movies that I really, really wanted to see, but for whatever reason I just couldn't. The first being The Hunt. The Hunt, I think I actually have more of an excuse for not having seen this one, because it is a foreign film. It stars Mads Mikkelsen, who is currently starring on Hannibal, which again, excellent show. I really like him on that. In fact, he's in the history of guys who have played Hannibal Lecter, he is now probably my favorite. But I digress. It's a foreign film. It's completely foreign language. It was not made nationally at all. I just could not get my hands on it. I could not procure a copy. I did not know of any theaters near me that were showing it. Simple as that. I'm still working on seeing it because I really like the lead actor. It sounds like an interesting movie. So yeah. Another movie that I really wanted to see, but for whatever reason couldn't, was All Is Lost, starring Robert Redford, which is just a relatively basic movie about Robert Redford stranded at sea. I heard there's hardly any dialogue, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, this sounds like Life of Pi if Life of Pi had a better lead actor. And I'm not saying the acting in Life of Pi was bad, but I'm just not a huge Ang Lee fan. I mean the actor was inexperienced in Life of Pi. The actor from Life of Pi was largely inexperienced. He sold you all right, but I have a feeling that if a more experienced actor was in the role, or in a role like that of a person stranded at sea, I think it could have been better. And that's honestly what All Is Lost looked like to me. But again, I could not get my hands on it. I could not, because I believe it was a limited release, and if it wasn't, then I was not aware. But yeah, those 2 movies I really wanted to see, but I couldn't. Saving Mr. Banks and Gravity. These 2 movies basically came. It's kind of the same deal as The Conjuring, where they came at inopportune times. Gravity came when I went to see Rush, around the time when I went to see Rush, and Saving Mr. Banks came around when I went to see The Hobbit. And it was, I just did not feel like going to see these movies in such a close time frame in relation to the other movies that I was seeing. So some of these movies I do plan on seeing eventually, but I may or may not do a video review on them. Probably not. But as it stands, I have not seen them, and they probably would have ended up somewhere on this list if I had. Now we come to the main list. Number 10 is Captain Phillips. Now, I am fully aware of the controversy surrounding this movie about how apparently the crew of the real Captain Phillips have openly stated that he was not the heroic or noble figure that he is made out to be in this movie. But with that said, I can understand if a person does not like this movie because of the misrepresentation of the real person. But in my opinion, this is a movie focusing more on the actual ordeal than the person that it is named after. That being said, this is a very well realized movie that really does capture the tense atmosphere and the fear behind a hostage crisis like this one. The people in this movie, the characters in this movie, feel real, as they should, but at the same time, the whole thing does manage to feel very cinematic. And I think part of that has to do with Paul Greengrass's direction. He really knows how to shoot an intense scene with these pirates. Really, the only major gripe I have with this movie that is prevalent throughout the movie is the shaky cam. It's not to the point where you cannot tell what is going on, and I can understand what they're trying to do, where they're kind of trying to have the camera imitate the motion of someone's vision being on a rocking boat. But honestly, some of the time when I'm just trying to see the actors and trying to see them perform the scene, it can get a little distracting. I think they could have pulled back a little bit. But again, it does little to ruin the movie for me. Tom Hanks is fantastic in the role of Captain Phillips. He really, when he breaks down at the end after very believably keeping his cool throughout. I mean, it's not like he's not a stone-faced secret agent like James Bond, where just the fear thing does not register for him. You can tell that he is afraid when he is dealing with these pirates, but at the same time, you can also tell that he knows that if he breaks down, it's only going to make things worse. So you can see him trying his best to put on a brave face and keep things calm, try and calmly negotiate with these guys. And when he breaks down at the end, it is very understandable. It is a very heartfelt character moment, and I really like that moment. I like how this movie resolves very quickly, like it should, because the pirates get sniped, and the whole thing is over just like that. Again, like how it is in real life. So yeah, the performances from the pirates, especially the lead pirate, is very good. They are very believable. They are not overly theatrical. They are not trying to be menacing. They really do come across, like many characters in this movie, they come across as real people who just happen to have guns and are resorting to piracy. So Captain Phillips is a very good movie. I recommend it. Just try to ignore the camera work at times. Number 9 is The World's End. The World's End, the Edgar Wright comedy, which is the third entry in the kind of unofficial trilogy that Edgar Wright has done with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. The first two being Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. Now, The World's End is, like I mentioned in my review of it, it's so gleefully over the top. The performances are, honestly, a lot of them are played straight. They are played, I mean, some of them are goofy, but for the most part, many of the performances are very straight and very honest. Because because honestly, that's where a lot of the comedy comes from. It's where it's where the comedic foils come in, where you see Nick Frost trying to play the straight man, and Simon Pegg constantly acting all irresponsible and acting all zany towards him. And it's not only Nick Frost who's trying to keep things together. It's also Martin Freeman. It's also Rosamund Pike. And the way that this movie escalates into gleefully over the top and outright ridiculousness without sacrificing its tone while keeping a consistent tone is really something to be there's really something to be said about Edgar Wright's direction from that. I'm honestly kind of looking forward to Edgar Wright's Ant-Man movie, if it's going to be a comedic movie like this. I laughed many times during this. This movie aims to take you on a very fun ride. This movie aims to make you laugh, and in those goals, it succeeds with flying colors. Like I said, it's shot well. The acting is very funny, and it garners many of the smiles. The story is so ridiculous and goes to such extreme lengths that it actually works in a weird way. Many of the jokes do work, and they work well. And yeah, it's just an all-around very enjoyable comedy. I really like The World's End. Next movie is Star Trek Into Darkness. Number 8, Star Trek Into Darkness. I do acknowledge that this movie does kind of fall apart in the third act. But, that being said, it's well acted. Even when it is doing scenes from Wrath of Khan, it is very well acted. It is very well shot. And I honestly think it's very unfair for Trekkies to deem this the worst Star Trek movie in that one poll that they did a few months back. There are plenty of worse Star Trek movies. This is not. I would not call this the best, but it is one of the better Star Trek movies, I think. I did like it better than the first Star Trek, although I have gotten disagreements on that. It had a better villain, for one thing. I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch as Khan is more intimidating, and he also gives a better performance than Eric Bana in the first movie. And I like Eric Bana, but he had nothing to work with. It was just this really cheesy Romulan villain in the first one. But I digress. This movie, again, the performances from everyone here, or nearly everyone, are great. Chris Pine is still very good as Captain Kirk. Simon Pegg as Scotty. Bruce Greenwood as Captain Pike. John Cho as Sulu. Anton Yelchin as Chekhov. Really, the only two weak links in terms of the Enterprise crew, in my opinion, are Zachary Quinto as Spock and Zoe Saldana as Uhura. This could be my spite for the really out of left field romance that doesn't really seem to make a whole lot of sense, which they do continue in this one. But I just really don't like Zachary Quinto as Spock. I think he possesses none of the charisma, none of the dry humor that Leonard Nimoy's Spock had. Really, I think the only thing that Zachary Quinto has going for him in the area of playing Spock is that he kind of looks like Leonard Nimoy. But I don't think that's enough. He has to have charisma, and I don't think he has any of the charisma of Leonard Nimoy. He has none of the charm. He has... Although maybe people like a more intense Spock. I'm not sure I do. And yeah, but that being said, a lot of the the actors in this movie really seem to inhabit the characters more than just imitating the characters. Oh, another one that I really like is Carl Urban as Bones McCoy. I mean, the acting that you can still tell that it's the same characters, but unlike the first movie where they were just trying to be these characters, here they fit the characters more. They fit them like a glove. They are able to go places with these characters that they couldn't really go before because they were trying to stay true to the original series. And they do stay true to the original series here in terms of character, but like I said, they're just willing to, they're just allowed to go more places. They're allowed to deepen their characters. They're allowed to deepen their portrayals of the characters. And yeah, I just really like the acting a lot more in this. And like I said, Cumberbatch is a welcome addition, even though they do kind of resolve his storyline a little too quickly near the end. This movie, even when it turns into a remake of Wrath of Khan, it is not a bad remake per se, but I think a lot of people just expected more from this new Star Trek franchise. Because this is supposed to be about a fresh start, and they're just backtracking just for the sake of oh, it's like this scene, or oh, remember this? Well, we reversed it, and we're doing something new with it. No, you're cycling the same scenes. But hopefully with the third Star Trek movie, they can go a little more original with it. They can't. I mean, hopefully with the third one, they're not using the original, or they're not using Well Tread Over Ground as a crutch. And not to say that they use it as a crutch in this movie, because, or at least not all the time, because the character of Khan is portrayed very differently here. Benedict Cumberbatch is intense as Khan. He is so scary in this movie. He is, and they do something new with it, where he's not the big bad guy that Ricardo Montalban played him as. He's honestly played as more of a victim than anything. I mean, he is played as a victim who eventually just snaps and decides to take things into his own hands. They make him kind of a more sympathetic character. And again, I do like Ricardo Montalban's performance better. I do like the original Khan better. I like the original Wrath of Khan better. But the way that they kind of change around some of the stuff revolving around Khan, I think it's really creative, and a lot of it does work. A lot of it does serve to see his character in a new light. And yeah, I really appreciated that. I really admired that they could take this really iconic character and do something new with him. And that's the main reason why Star Trek Into Darkness is on here, is that it expands on characters and concepts from the first movie, and really starts to go new places with them until the end. But unlike a lot of people, I didn't mind as much. I still minded, but just not as much, and that's why it's on here. Number 7, 42, the Jackie Robinson story. This is directed by the same person who directed A Knight's Tale, and I really loved A Knight's Tale, the jousting movie with Heath Ledger. I really liked the style behind that, and you can still very much tell that this director, Brian Hedgeland, I think that's how you say his name. He really wants to devote the same care to developing another sports star, this time in the area of baseball, in the form of Jackie Robinson. The portrayal of Jackie Robinson in this movie is a very admiring portrayal. You can tell that the people behind this movie really admire Jackie, and that definitely shows in how and how he is played, how the movie is written, and how it's structured. It is a love letter to Jackie Robinson. And base oh, and the director, the director, who I think also wrote this movie, was one of the writers for the movie L.A. Confidential. So that's another really good movie to chalk up on his resume. But the thing with this movie, first of all, Chadwick Boseman looks almost exactly like Jackie Robinson, and he plays the part beautifully. He is honestly, in my opinion, the best part of this movie. This could have easily just been at your typical underdog story, or a movie where the side characters are more interesting than the main character. No, you really get into Jackie's motivations. You really get into his personality. You really grow to like this guy, and a lot of that does come from Chadwick Boseman's performance. And Harrison Ford, who I've never really thought much of as an actor, he plays the manager. He plays it very gruff. He plays it. At first, it's a little distracting, the voice he's putting on, but overall, he does give a very true performance to the real guy, at least in my opinion. I could be disagreed with on that, but whatever. So what else about this movie? That the baseball scenes are shot very well. The prejudiced scenes they don't really hold much back. I mean, obviously, I think it's PG-13. I could be wrong on that, but they don't go as far as probably some people would have liked, because they don't go too extreme. They use the N-word plenty of times, and they do show a lot of the hostile reactions toward Robinson being accepted into the team. But the movie, over the course of the movie, things escalate to where the team and the crowd gradually warm up to Jackie. You don't all of a sudden, you don't see them act all mean toward him, and then all of a sudden in the next scene they're being nice to him. No, it is very gradual, as it should be. And yeah, I just thought it was a very careful, very loving, very uplifting portrayal of the Jackie Robinson story, and one that I would recommend to not only fans of the player himself, but also for if you want just a good inspirational sports movie. Number 6 is Side Effects. Side Effects. This movie is directed by Steven Soderbergh, who previously did such great movies as Haywire and Contagion. And when I saw the trailer for this, I said, "Is he doing a sequel to Contagion? Because that's what this looks like." But actually, this boasts a smaller cast than Contagion. Contagion was very much an ensemble piece. This primarily revolves around 4 people. It revolves around Jude Law. It revolves around Catherine Zeta-Jones, Rooney Mara, and to a lesser extent Channing Tatum. And basically, it does throw you for several loops. It does tell a very intelligent story. You can tell that that it knows what it's talking about. You can tell, and the way that it wields these different medications, the way that it wields this. I mean, it might be trying to say something about medication in general and prescribed drugs in general. It might be saying something, but dense me, I didn't pick up on it the first time. I might watch it again. But Jude Law is fantastic in this movie. He gives probably, I can't remember the last movie I saw him in other than Sherlock Holmes 2. and I did like Sherlock Holmes too, but I I don't know. I just think he gave a very solid performance. He does carry the movie beautifully. He he's very compelling. You can tell. I mean, his character is a flawed character. I mean, it's not like this very. He's not this very self-righteous goody-goody. He does make mistakes. He does, and the question is brought up of just who is he's going for these extremes for. Why is he going to these extremes to prove his innocence? How does he really feel about the medicine he prescribes? These questions are posed, and like in real life, not really a whole lot of them are answered completely. Because these moral questions really have no clear-cut answer in real life, and I think that's something that's tackled very well in this movie. I mean, you see Jude Law degrade to just being this bum, this washed-up bum after Rooney Mara scams him. And you really do start to root for him when he tries to prove his innocence, and you really buy it, coming from a smart character like this. You really buy that he could eventually outsmart Rooney Mara and Catherine Zeta-Jones. Channing Tatum is alright when he's on screen. I mean, he's not great, but the character is not great. I mean, the character is just there to die. I don't mean to spoil it, but Channing Tatum dies. Rooney Mara is very good. I've seen her in one other movie, and that's the remake of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And while I did like her performance in that, I liked Noomi Rapaz's performance better in the Swedish version of that movie. But Rooney Mara is very good in this movie. I really like the way the movie throws you for a loop, turning her from the victim to the villain. It's really a movie where A, you have to pay attention, and B you are really thrown for a loop. You were given these twists that you did not see coming, but at the same time do make a lot of sense. Catherine Zeta-Jones is in about the same boat, where she is very good. And you really buy into the convoluted scheme that she and Rooney Mara have cooked up. But oddly enough, when the scheme is actually unveiled, you aren't calling BS. You aren't saying that could never happen, because the stepping stones were all there. The means for them to accomplish this were all there. The motivation was there. So it's just one of those things where being a movie, sometimes things go a little further than perhaps they would get in real life. So yeah, I really like this one, and I really like Steven Soderbergh. I'm really growing to like Steven Soderbergh as a director. I think he's a very good director. He knows how to craft a scene. He knows how to let his actors go. He knows how to direct them to accomplish these really compelling scenes, and is very careful not to let them be overshadowed by the story, as I think some directors do. So yeah, Side Effects, very good. Next movie is Frozen. Frozen, the Disney animated feature that I could not have been less interested in when I saw the initial trailers for it, because it just looks stupid. It looked like it had been done before, and I just was not interested in seeing it. But upon going after Thanksgiving, and upon seeing it, I can safely say that I am no longer opposed to Disney doing 3D animated features as long as they are of this caliber, because because I was initially against the idea of Disney abandoning hand-drawn animation to do these 3D animated features. And the thing with the movies they've been doing recently, Princess and the Frog did not do that well at the box office, even though it did get good reviews. Tangled I actually liked better than Princess and the Frog, so I was just kind of willing to go like, oh, okay, this is better than their last hand-drawn feature. I'm going to see where they go with this 3D animation. Frozen has cemented the idea for me that their 3D animation can really stand on its own. Frozen and Wreck-It Ralph, because like I said, this is not only the best animated film I've seen all year. This is one of the best films I've seen from Disney in a while, excluding Pixar. But this is very much on the same level as Tangled. I liked Wreck-It Ralph, although not as much as Tangled and not as much as Frozen. But the thing with this movie, not only is the animation gorgeous, the songs are nearly all of them are well written. Nearly all of them sound very good. Nearly all of them are sung very good. You really get into the songs, and it's a good thing too, since a lot of the movie is comprised of musical numbers. The voice acting is very good, and the voice actors who sing their parts are very good. Kristen Bell it turns out, sings very well, and Idina Menzel, like I said in my original review, is fantastic, both in terms of her voice acting and in terms of her singing. She was on Broadway once, I think doing Wicked, and it really shows, because she really has that very powerful voice that you would think would do well on Broadway, and that really helps her here. What else? The characters are very charming. The comic relief works. The story is very powerful. You really like the way these characters interact. You really like the way the writing makes the story flow. You really like the way the animation flows. You really like a lot of the really cool effects that they do with the ice powers. The ice powers themselves are realized to full potential. This movie is not limited by any means. Being animation, they could really do a lot of cool stuff with the ice powers, and they do. So yeah, it's just an all-around really great movie. I don't even want to say a great Disney movie, just a great movie. And I recommend seeing it, even for those who are not big on kids movies. This is not a kids movie. This is a family movie that can be enjoyed, at least in my opinion, by people of all ages. So highly recommend Frozen. Number 4 is Prisoners. And Prisoners, this is the movie for which I think Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal deserve Oscars, because they are both excellent in this movie. Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal are just electrifying in how intense their performances are in this movie. This movie takes a very dark subject matter like child abductions, something that happens in the real world, and treats it with a bleakness and a maturity that you just have to appreciate. This is a very bleak movie, and while it can have the potential to leave you kind of depressed at the end, it feels warranted considering the very eerie subject matter. This movie is shot with a very somber atmosphere to it. There is absolutely no shaky cam. There are not I think any action scenes. I mean, Gyllenhaal plays a cop, but there aren't any car chases. It plays out like a very real police investigation where the results do not just pop up. At times it can take a while for any kind of progress to be made in the case. So it's a very realistic movie, and it is a very compelling movie. Not just with the child abduction plot, but the little side story about Hugh Jackman and eventually Terrence Howard beating this mentally challenged person to within an inch of his life daily, because they harbor a very strong belief that he knows where their daughters are. And this movie does not try to sugarcoat this scene. This movie does not try to make this seem right in any way. This movie treats this act as very deplorable, as very morally wrong, and you really do get the sense, you really are asking the question, even if they do get their daughters back, how will they ever recover from this? Not just in terms of dealing with the law, but in terms of dealing with themselves. You can tell that this is killing them, having to do this. But at the same time, you can really tell that they feel that they have no other choice. They just feel like they have to do something. They cannot just sit there and wait for Jake Gyllenhaal to make slow progress. And it's not like Jake Gyllenhaal is inefficient. He is doing his best. And like I said, he, like Hugh Jackman, is very intense, is very compelling, and I just think this is a very mature, very eerie, very atmospheric portrayal of something that sadly happens every day. This is a depressing movie, but I highly recommend it if only for the performances. At its worst, this is a depressing movie with very scary performances. At its best, this is a intensely atmospheric movie with electrifying performances that honestly deserve plenty of recognition. Wow, what a flick. Number 3 is Mud, the movie starring Matthew McConaughey. And Matthew McConaughey has essentially become a punchline in some circles because even on Letterman when he sometimes asks for McConaughey's co-stars to do impressions of him. Like Channing Tatum was on there one time and he was just like, all right. But this movie, while telling a very innocent story of romance and how like in real life it can fall apart very easily, and how very little of the time does it ever end up like the fairy tales. This is also a very realistic and very compelling coming of age story. The child acting in this is very good, particularly from the guy that plays Ellis. McConaughey, while being very understated, is still very good in this movie. He does deserve some kind of recognition for his performance in this because he does not do any of the Matthew McConaughey tropes or cliches or whatever you want to call it. He gives a very straight, very heartfelt performance, and as you slowly learn about his character, and as the movie goes on, you do want to know more about his character. You do want to know more about his relationship with Reese Witherspoon's character. You really grow to like this guy. You really grow to like his relationship with the kids. You really get into how grounded and understated and subtle he is. And this movie beautifully balances two plots. One about McConaughey simultaneously trying to get the girl in the form of Reese Witherspoon, while also running away from some guys that want to kill him, and a coming of age story about a kid whose parents are not necessarily on the best terms, and who also finds out that love is not as easy as a lot of movies make it out to be, and as a lot of people make it out to be. This is a very earnest piece of filmmaking. The cinematography, how it captures this kind of swamp swamp-like land is very good. I never thought that a swamp could be beautiful, but there is beautiful cinematography in this. Like I said, the performances are very good. They managed to be very compelling while also being very subtle and understated. The writing is very genuine and honest and very true to life. The story is beautifully balanced. Really, the only gripe I have about this movie is that at times it can seem a little too long, but other than that, this is a movie that will have you very invested in what is going on, and compared to a lot of fictional movies nowadays, it can serve as a very refreshing change of pace. And you will be shocked at how something this complex, something with these types of adult themes, can stem from two kids helping some guy repair his boat and get his boat in the water again. Number 2 is Rush, another movie that I've previously reviewed. And like I said in that review, I like Ron Howard, and it's high time that he got another great movie, and this is that movie. Rush, like Mud, beautifully balances the stories of Formula One racers James Hunt and Niki Lauda, who are played with both charisma and emotion by Chris Hemsworth and Daniel Bruhl. The supporting cast is very good. Olivia Wilde, including Olivia Wilde. There is I'm trying to think, the woman that eventually hooks up with Daniel Bruhl's character is very good. Not only does this very faithfully portray these Formula One racers and their rivalry, without kind of playing it up too much, without fictionalizing it too much, but it also tells a very compelling story about how at times life and the troubles of life, financial or otherwise, can get in the way of something that you love doing. At one point, James Hunt basically loses all of his money. He loses the resources that have been available to him for so long. And Niki Lauda abandons his family's fortune and basically gets all these sponsors just for the chance to race with his Formula One car. He acquires all these skills essentially from very little experience. He eventually builds himself up. He gets the experience, and he climbs his way up to the top. And that's where this movie really works, is when he and James Hunt are constantly competing for who is the true number one. And what really often comes into play is how far they are willing to go, what their beliefs are, and how their beliefs affect how they will do what good sportsmanship is. This is a very interesting movie. The race scenes are shot very well. The relationship between James Hunt and Niki Lauda does not feel spoon-fed. It does not feel contrived or cliched in any way. It feels very real. And eventually, where the relationship ends up at the end of the movie, you really do buy that while they are not openly hostile toward each other, they do still harbor some kind of type of competitive spirit toward each other, and that is one of the many things that makes this movie very believable. Not just as a biopic of these two figures, but also as a very compelling retelling of one of the biggest rivalries in racing. Highly recommend Rush. And the number one best movie I've seen all year is The Hobbit: The Desolation of Smaug. Now, while from a technical aspect and from and from and from in the area of the script, there are many who would prefer there are many who might prefer movies like Rush and Mud and Prisoners over The Hobbit, but where I really felt The Hobbit succeeded, more so than Part One, was that it really managed to capture the fun, the very lighthearted adventure of the original source material, while also suitably getting darker. It really finds a very intriguing balance between the dark stuff like the Smaug scenes and the Sauron scenes, and the scenes where Bilbo and dwarves are palling around, where the elves are basically swashbuckling with the orcs along the river, and that type of balance is what I feel was somewhat missing from the first one, and what also benefits this movie is a faster pace. This movie, like many classic adventure movies like Black Swan and Sinbad and Robin Hood, is a rip-roaring adventure that is precisely the type of movie that people go to the movies for. Film is a visual medium, and audiences really want to go to be entertained. And this is not just a popcorn flick. It is also, much like Peter Jackson's other Tolkien works, is a love letter to the author, is a love letter to this beautifully written source material, and in some ways actually improves upon the source material. Like it gives extra motivations to. It gives very understandable motivations for certain characters, like Thranduil, like the Elven King Thranduil. He doesn't want to help Thorin with the issue of the dragon because half of his face is burned off. He's very secluded because he has been burned in the past by dwarves and like I said the beasts of the north. So yeah, this, like I said before with the visual medium, this is a gorgeous piece of filmmaking. There is not a single landscape in this movie that did not make me go, wow, that is beautiful. This really finds a delicate balance between hardcore drama and character-driven story, and the rip-roaring adventure that partially stems from the gorgeous landscapes and very breathtaking cinematography. New Zealand is Middle Earth at this point. New Zealand is filmed with such a steady hand, and in such a way that you not only do you want to visit New Zealand, but you completely buy it as this exotic Middle Earth. The new locales make this movie fresher for many people than the first one, and the characters are deepened. The drama is deepened and is more prominent. The conflicts are more intense this time around. The stakes are raised, and it gets you very hyped for Part 3. It got me very hyped for Part 3, and not just because of that cliffhanger ending. The performances are very, very good. Martin Freeman is still spot on as Bilbo. He is still the perfect Bilbo. Richard Armitage really comes more into his own as Thorin Oakenshield. He's still very compelling, and I think he, in the eyes of many people, he can finally move past that misconception of oh, this guy is kind of like Viggo Mortensen's character in the original movies, except not. No, in this movie, I think a lot of people can admit that he is really starting to become his own character, his own type of unique personality, his own type of unique drama and compelling storyline. And like I said in my original review, the dwarves are more distinct this time around. And one thing that was mentioned in a lot of reviews in some of the reviews for this movie, that I really agree with, is that they made the ingenious move to split up the dwarves, about halfway through, or 2/3 of the way through, and the reviewers, the critics basically said it is easier to keep track of 4 to 6 dwarves in 2 different locations than 13 dwarves in one location. And I think that is very much true, because when I saw James Nesbitt and Aidan Turner in and a few other dwarves in Lake Town, I felt that they were more distinct and they got more time to shine than when they were thrown in with numerous other dwarves in one scene, and how they were all kind of competing for screen time. Likewise, Ken Stoat was more distinct and got to do more as Balin. Graham McTavish got to do more as Dwalin. All the dwarves got to do more in this movie. All of the dwarves got more to work with in this movie because they were not constantly thrown into this big pile of dwarves who were competing for screen time. And yeah, I just think this movie makes so many improvements upon the first Hobbit movie, and I hope with all my heart that the third one lives up to people's expectations. I hope the third one is not a dud, because I really want this film series, which has not had a bad entry yet in my opinion, to really go out on a high note. But with that said, this second act is one heck of a second act. I really liked the swashbuckling adventure aspect. I really like how this movie found numerous balances. Another one of which was the balance between the darker stuff and the more humorous stuff. This is a very funny movie that can also be very scary and foreboding when it needs to be. The spider scene is a very good example of that. And yeah, this is a very good movie. In fact, I would argue that it is a great movie, and hence why I'm putting it as the best movie I've seen all year. And I'm not trying to alienate anyone by saying that. I'm not trying to say that you are a bad person if you do not agree with me. I'm not trying to say that my opinion is law. I just wanted to give my own personal perspective on the movies that were released this year. And yeah, that is my 2 cents. So that's about all I got, and I would like to wish you all a Merry post-Christmas and soon to be a Happy New Year.